Alright guys, this lesson is about graphing quadratics in standard form. This is video number 2. This one is being filmed. I'm in Boston attending a bat mitzvah. I'm in a hotel room. There's 4 other people here besides me, so you're probably going to hear some things going on in the background, but just focus on the sound of my voice and everything's gonna be okay. Alright, problem number 1. Like it says right here, we're gonna start by finding the vertex. Okay, and specifically we're gonna start with the x-coordinate of the vertex, and we can find the x-coordinate of the vertex by using this little formula. The x-coordinate of the vertex, which is also the axis of symmetry.
Ew, why did I need to see the toilet?
Alright, as well, is given by this formula opposite of b over 2a.
Sure.
Okay.
Ew.
So, this is a, and this is b, and this is c. So, the opposite of b over 2a, so that's going to be the opposite of b. B is 8, so that's negative 8. And a is 2, so 2a is 2 times 2. So this gives us negative 8 over 4.
Oh, apparently I can.
And this gives us negative 2. So that's the x-coordinate of the vertex. Alright, so that means the vertex is negative 2 comma something. Okay, so we're going to make sure to put that in the middle of our chart. So let's put negative 2 right here in the middle. Okay. Now, while we're at it, let's go ahead and find the y-coordinate of the vertex as well. But you know what? Before we do that, let's go ahead and list off the rest of the x values for our table. If we have negative 2 in the middle, below that will be negative 3 and negative 4. And if we go higher than that, it'll be negative 1 and 0. So let's go ahead and use our TI-30 XS multi-view. Alright, so we hit that table button, erase that. So it was 2x squared. So 2x squared plus 8x. So plus 8x minus 2. Okay. So just hit enter about 5 times. And here we are. So our x values start at negative 4, so I'll just go ahead and scroll to negative 4. So I've got negative 2, negative 8, negative 10. So negative 2, negative 8, and negative 10. Okay, now if we did everything correctly, then I should have negative 8 and negative 2 right here. Because of symmetry, it should be the same y values on this side of the 10 as we had on that side of the 10. So let's check and see if I get negative 8 and negative 2 as I scroll down. Oh look, negative 8 and negative 2, just like we thought. That lets us know that we're doing the right thing.
Hello.
Okay, now so the vertex is right here in blue. Negative 2 comma negative 10. Alright. Let's go ahead and graph these points. So we've got negative 4 and negative 2. Let's graph that. Okay, negative 4, negative 2 will be right here. And then negative 3, negative 8. Okay, and so here's negative 3, negative 8.
Okay.
And then negative 2, negative 10. Okay, might scroll up a bit. So negative 2, negative 10. And then I remember the symmetry from before, so I know we'll have a point here and a point here. So see how they are mirror images of each other? The axis of symmetry is going to be the vertical line right down the middle. But let's go ahead and graph the parabola as best we can. Just make yourself a nice smooth curve through these points. Okay, yeah, smoother than that if you can. Wow. Alright, so it's a little bit of a fail, but what are you going to do? Okay, try to let your graph go all the way to the edge.
Well, I think that we lost our connection.
Okay,
So.
something like that. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and draw the axis of symmetry as a dotted line right down the middle. Alright, there's your axis of symmetry right there. So we have a vertical line at -2. Okay, so I realize I'm sort of jumping out of order here, but the axis of symmetry is going to be x equals -2, alright, because it's a vertical line at -2. Do not leave off the x equals part. Now, this vertex, is this a maximum or minimum? Well, the vertex is here at the bottom of the graph, so since it's at the bottom, it is a minimum. Okay, does this parabola open up or down? Well, if these are arms, then they are reaching up. So this parabola is an upward facing parabola. Okay, and by the way, you can tell by looking at an equation ahead of time if the parabola is going to open up or down by looking at the a value. If the a value is positive, then it's going to be up. If this had been a negative, then the parabola would open down. Okay, now the zeros, that's another term that means the same thing as x-intercepts. So let's look for those x-intercepts. Alright. You know what? Our actual values that we were graphing stopped here, but let's actually go back to the calculator and get a couple more so we can get a better idea of where the parabola is going to cross the line. Okay, so let's see. If I go one more. So here we have an extra point at 1, 8. Let's go ahead and graph that. And you know, if I want, I can go ahead and include this under my chart, the point 1, 8. There's nothing saying that we have to just stick to the 5 points they gave us space for. So 1, 8 is going to be right here. Okay, so you can see I was getting a little off over there. And you know its mirror image will be right here. Okay, so you know that the parabola is going to cross over the x-axis on its way from this point to this point. Okay, so as we do our estimation, alright, you can see that the x-intercepts are here and here. Alright, so the left x-intercept is a little bit to the left of -4. So I might say like -4.3 or something like that. But I'm estimating. So I'm going to call that one -4.3, 0. And the one on the right is just a little bit to the right of 0. So I might call that just simply 0.3, 0. Of course, the y value is 0 because it's right on the x-axis. Now, the y-intercept, we don't have to estimate. The y-intercept is where this graph crosses the y-axis. So that's right here. This is the y-intercept. Alright, the y-intercept is always 0, something. And so you can usually find it right on your chart. Alright? Or at least in your calculator, even if it doesn't fit on the chart. So 0, comma, -2, that's your y-intercept. The domain. Remember, the domain is how, it's the x values covered by a graph. So it's how far the graph goes to the left and to the right. And all of these parabolas go to the left forever and to the right forever. So the domain is going to be -infinity to +infinity every time. The range, on the other hand, the range represents all of the y values of a function. Alright, so the y values, and we need to give it in order from bottom to top. So how low does this graph go? It goes all the way down to -10. Alright, so it goes from -10, but then how high does it go? Well, it goes up forever, so -10 to infinity. Now we'll put a square bracket on the -10 to show that the parabola reaches -10, it touches -10. -10 is included in the set. Alright, and that is it for problem number 1. Now that I've gone through a problem during this lesson, I'm going to try to do number 2 much faster. Alright, let's start with the x-coordinate of that vertex using that formula. The x value of the vertex, which is the same thing as the axis of symmetry. Hold on, got an extra line there. The formula is opposite of b over 2a. So this is a, this is b, and this is c. So b is -4, so the opposite of b is +4. 2a. A is 2, so that's 2 times 2. Well, that means this is 4 over 4, so this is 1. Okay, so by the way, this is the axis of symmetry, x equals 1. So there's no sense in not putting that down right now. But it is also the x value of the vertex, so I'm going to put that down as well. Okay, and let's put it in the middle of our chart. Boom! X value of 1. If that x value is 1, then less than 1 will have 0 and -1. Greater than 1 will have 2 and 3. Time for the TI-30 XS multiview. Whoa. 2x squared minus 4x minus 2. Alright, hit enter 5 times. And here we are. Okay, we need to start from -1, and we are already at -1. So I have 4, -2, -4. Now, if we have done everything properly, we should have symmetry. So if this is -2, this should be -2. If this is 4, this should be 4. So let's scroll down and look for -2, 4. -2 and 4. So that reassures us that we are doing the right thing. Okay, let's go ahead and graph these points right now. So -1, 4 would be right there. Okay, 0, -2 would be there. 1, -4 would be right here. 2, -2, and we see the symmetry. So it would be right there. Now, I'm curious if the next point will fit on the graph or not. I always like to graph more points if I can. Next one's at 14, so nah. Okay, let's go ahead and graph this thing. Alright, so there you go. Your parabola should look something like that. And there's your axis of symmetry right down the middle with your parabola. It looks good. Yeah, so back to all of the small questions you're being asked here. The vertex is 1, -4. Now, is this vertex a maximum or a minimum? Well, since the vertex is here at the bottom of the parabola, it is a minimum. Does this parabola open up or down? Well, clearly it is reaching to the sky, so it opens up. Now, how could I tell just by looking at the equation that the parabola is facing up, even if I didn't graph it?
Can I have a snack?
Well, we could tell because the a value, the leading coefficient, is positive, so that would make it upward facing. Anyway, we already put the axis of symmetry, but let's take another look at it. The axis of symmetry is a vertical line at 1, so that's x equals 1. Alright, you must put x equals 1, don't just put 1. Not good enough. Now the y-intercept, that's the place where the graph crosses the y-axis. So the y-intercept is right here. That's my y-intercept. So that is 0, -2. Okay? The y-intercept is always 0, something. So there it is on the chart. Even if it's not on your chart though, even if it doesn't fit on the graph, you can always scroll to it on your calculator. Just scroll to an x value of 0 and that'll be your y-intercept. Anyway, oh, you know what? I think that the x-intercept got deleted. So let me mention that right now. Maybe I can. Alright, I brought the x-intercepts back. I'm bringing x-intercepts back. Yeah! Let's see. The x-intercepts we will have to estimate because these are the x-intercepts right here. They're between the lines. So this x-intercept is a little bit, well, let me start with the one on the left. It's a little bit to the left of 0. So I'm going to say -0.3 or something like that. -0.3. You know, I'm going to accept a range of values here, but you know, I would not accept 0 because we already know the point that's at 0 is at -2, and I would not accept -1 either because we already have a point there. But pretty much anything between 0 and -1 I would accept. But to me this looks like about -0.3. So we have one of them at -0.3, 0. And now the other one is a little bit to the right of 2. So I'm going to say 2.3, 0. So those are my x-intercepts. Alright, these are also known as zeros or roots. Okay, now the domain, of course, is going to be -infinity to +infinity. All parabolas like this have the same domain because the domain is the x values. How far to the left does it go? How far to the right does it go? It goes left forever, right forever. Okay, now the range. The range is the y values of a graph. And in other words, how low does it go and how high does it go, in that order. First, the lowest point on the graph is right here at -4. So let's start with that, -4. Now the highest value, it goes up forever. So that'll be -4 to infinity. And we'll put a bracket on the -4 to show that -4 is part of the graph. The graph hits -4. Okay, I mean it's just plain in the vertex.
Are you making
Yeah, there's your negative 4 right there. It's one of the points on the graph. Okay, if it's included, then you show that by giving it a bracket. Now, how many problems are on this whole thing? Alright, we only have one more problem. I know this video is already long at 20 minutes. I usually would stop it here, but there's only one more problem left. You should know right now whether or not this parabola is going to open up or down. Okay, so that's right. I'm breaking all the rules and I'm skipping to this question, this part of the question. Is this parabola going to open up or down? Yeah, it's going to open down. How did you know that? I mean, besides being so smart. Well, the leading coefficient is negative, so you know that it's going to open down. Okay, so we'll just watch out for that. So anyway, like we always do, let's start by trying to find the x-coordinate of the vertex. Alright, I'm experiencing some technical difficulties.
The user is unknown.
Okay, if I want to find the x value of the vertex, I'm going to use that little formula. The x-coordinate of the vertex, which is also the axis of symmetry, is given by the opposite of b over 2a. And of course this is a, and this is b, and this is c. Alright, just the number part, by the way. A is negative 2, b is negative 4, and c is 3. Okay, now, opposite of b. So b is negative 4, so the opposite of b is positive 4. Okay, and then over 2a. So a is negative 2, so that's 2 times negative 2. So I've got 4 over negative 4, so that gives me negative 1. Okay, now again, that is both the x value of the vertex and it is the axis of symmetry. X equals negative 1. Alright, so that we're making good progress. Let's go ahead and find, well, first of all, we now know what the other x values are as far as this chart goes. Going less than negative 1, we're talking about negative 2 and negative 3. Greater than negative 1, we're talking about 0 and 1. Alright, let's hit the TI-30 XS multi-view and see what our good friend has to say. Yes, Daddy's weird. My students all agree. But in our family, that's a compliment, so that's why she doesn't get in trouble for that. But she is making me mess up. I'm going to blame her for clicking these wrong buttons here. So we're getting to the table. Alright, so here we go. So this was going to be negative 2 x squared, and then negative 4x plus 3, negative 4x plus 3. Okay, so there's my equation. I'm going to hit enter like 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kabam. Alright. We need to start here at negative 3, so I'm going to scroll too far. Alright, so I've got negative 3, 3, and 5. So negative 3, 3, and 5. Now, if we did everything correctly, you should be able to tell me what these next values are right now. If this is 3, then this should be 3. If this is negative 3, then this should be negative 3 because of the symmetry that a parabola has. So now let's check it out and see if we were right. Okay, so if I scroll down, I got 3 and negative 3. Okay, just like we expected. Alright, now, so the vertex. We've found the vertex now. The vertex is negative 1, comma 5. Okay, negative 1, comma 5. Now, this vertex, is it a maximum or a minimum? Oh, I guess we should graph the points first. By the way, can you answer this question now without the graph? You know, it'll be obvious once we graph it, but we already know that this graph is facing down, okay, because the leading coefficient was negative. So if we know that it's facing down, even without graphing it, don't we know that the vertex is a maximum? Okay, so we know it's going to be a maximum. But yeah, let's go ahead and graph the points though. So we have -3, -3. Okay, so -3, -3, that's right there. Alright, we've got -2, -2, 3. -2, 3. It's right there. Okay, and we've got -1, 5. -1, 5 is right here. And then the symmetry takes over, and we already saw that in the chart, so we know we're going to have these values. And that's enough to get this graph going. I'm curious if the next value will fit or not. Nah, it's a little bit far. Okay, let's go ahead and draw this parabola. Kabam! There's our parabola. Now let's draw the axis of symmetry. Kabam! There is our axis of symmetry. Okay, now let's talk zeros, guys. Let's talk about those zeros. X-intercepts, if you will. Same thing. Okay, again, we're going to have to estimate those. Those are between the lines here. So this is, I'm going to call it -2.6. Alright, to me it seems a little bit closer to -3, so I'm going to call it -2.6, comma 0, of course, because it's on the x-axis. And now the other one is to the right of 0, but a little bit closer to 1, so I'm going to call it 0.6, comma 0. Okay, so we had to estimate a little bit with those x-intercepts, those zeros. Now the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the place where the curve touches the y-axis. I'm going to color that red right now, so watch it happen. Kabam! There's the y-intercept, alright? Here's the y-axis, and here's where it touches the y-axis. This is the point 0, comma 3. So that is our y-intercept. The y-intercept is always 0, comma something. Please don't just put 3. Give me an ordered pair. Okay, give me 0, comma 3. And there it is on our graph. What would you do if the y-intercept was not on your chart and if it did not show on your graph? Hopefully you're saying something about scrolling on your calculator until you find the x value of 0. Because even if it's, let's say it was 0, comma 20. 0, comma 20 is not going to fit on your chart. It's not going to show up on your graph. This only goes to -10 and +10, not 20. But you can always find it on the table of values of your calculator. Now the domain is always the same for these parabolas, -infinity to +infinity, because the domain represents the x values of a graph, and the parabola goes left forever and right forever. The range is more limited. The range represents the y values of a graph, so that means how far does the graph go from bottom to top, and the order matters. So please give me bottom to top. Many students want to always start with the vertex, but in this case the vertex is at the top, so don't give me the vertex first. How low does this graph go? At the bottom of it. Yeah, see how it goes down forever, so we have to begin with that -infinity, alright? -infinity because it's down. Infinity always gets the round parentheses because you can never reach infinity. So we use the round to show that infinity itself is not included in the set. You can't get there. Now, how high does the graph go? It goes up to 5. So negative infinity to 5. Now you do reach that 5. 5 is included in the graph, in the set. So we'll put the square bracket on it. And you can even see that 5 when you look at the vertex. There's the 5 right there. It's definitely included. And that is it for this assignment. Alright, this video ran a little bit long. So hopefully you found it helpful. I will see you on the next video.